by many analysts by President Mubarak to keep the army loyal throughout these years, because this is during his time that the army actually also became a business. But certainly, since the beginning, really, of this crisis, if you may call it like this, the army has said more than once that it will never attack Egyptian people, and it has not done so. So at the moment, the army is very well regarded, and everybody does acknowledge that whatever future political deal will happen, the army will still have a very important role in the country for at least the foreseeable future.
If the president told the army to do something, and if the president was in a weak position, as he appears to be now, would the army naturally follow his orders? Or is there a possibility that there could be a breakaway which would further weaken the position of the president and strengthen the position of those people we see on our screen?
Well, I think that's everyone's guess at the moment. The army, I mean, Hosni Mubarak is a man from the army, and he is regarded by many people, by many Egyptians and within the army, as someone who has actually given good service in the army. And people regard him as a war hero. To ask the army to actually completely turn its back on Hosni Mubarak, I think it's something many people acknowledge would be very, very difficult. Now, there is, again, all sorts of rumors going around that there might be some sort of way of trying to some sort of split, if you will, within the army on how to deal with this situation and President Mubarak. Has it reached the point that it would not support him? I don't think yet. Has it reached the point that it will obey to every, or is still in a position rather, that it will obey to every single order he gives? I don't think as well. I think at the moment the army is trying to find its own position, and at some point it will have to decide which direction it will take.
Give me an idea of where you are, not exactly, but whether you're sort of with the great body of the crowd, because I'm looking at pictures here that show a great many people looking in one direction, and I'm hearing the sound of applause. Are there generally speakers in the square, or is there something happening that we're not aware of?
No, I mean, there is a giant sort of stage on the square, and throughout the day there are people who go up there, who talk to the crowd. There has been music coming out of the loudspeakers. So that is really the focal point of the square. So usually people go there. There's also a giant screen that people look at, sometimes with different news channels on it. So that would be where most of the people are now. But all around the square at the moment, many people walking in all directions. You can see families just walking around and having a chat. In the middle of the square, there is basically what has become an encampment. That's where those who are referred to as the hardcore protesters spend their time there, and they have really created their own little world. They have their tents, they have their sort of food area. They have even created some sort of sanitation system for people to go to the bathroom. So it's like a little town coming around in the square. And then you have the daily protesters, if you want to call them, those who come in and out, who come to have a walk, to say a bit, show their support, and leave.
Just one quick thought before we leave you. When you say there are a succession of speeches and exhortations from the stage, is it always the same message?
Pardon me, could you repeat the question, please?
Those people that are addressing the crowd, are they all saying the same sort of thing?
Yeah, they're all saying the same sort of thing. And it's sort of a variety of people. There are people who sort of have a more populist kind of approach to addressing the speech. There are certainly people who have a more religious approach of speaking to the crowd. And then there's all of a sudden music that's blaring, and great sort of very popular hit songs that are, and people start dancing. And then, so it's really a continuous variety variety of things that happen on that square, and then you can see the different groups of people responding to the different kind of message that's coming out of that stage. So I think that sort of shows the diversity of the people that are on the square. But the one message everybody has all the time, and you will hear those slogans and chants over and over again throughout the day, it is invalid, invalid, leave, leave, you must go now, we will stay until you leave. That's the one message all these different groups, whether liberals or seculars or religious or conservatives, all have. There's that one same message. I haven't heard any kind of sort of political, ideological kind of sort of speeches being given or anything like that. At the moment, there's one unifying message of all these people who are very diverse and who I don't think had ever met before and had lived in such proximity of each other before all this started.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Another of our teams on the line to me now. I don't know where you are or what you can see, but fill us in.
Yes, I'm sorry, David. Can you repeat that?
I can hear you. What can you see?
Well, David, where I'm actually in a street that's outside of Liberation Square. I was trying to get a sense, really, of what many Egyptians, ordinary Egyptians, were trying to return to their daily lives today, trying to get a sense from them as to what and how they were interpreting the events that were taking place in Liberation Square and the standoff with the government that has now gone into its 12th day. So I'm actually not in Liberation Square. I cannot see really what was happening there with the arrival of the Central Command, or at least the senior military officer that addressed the crowd there. But in speaking to many Egyptians about the resumption of life and trying to get a sense from them, how do they feel about this? And I actually told them, the military is visiting the protesters and trying to convince them to leave the square, and what they thought about that. Many of them were telling me that, in fact, they support the military playing a more active role in trying to bring the situation to an end. They do not believe that the military should use any kind of force to disrupt the protest. They believe that the protesters have a right to be there, that they should exercise control over the gains that they have made. They don't want the protesters to drag this on out. But surprisingly, many of the people I spoke to, while they are a little bit reluctant to say that the protesters should leave, not all of them, surprisingly, are 100% behind the protests dragging on for too long, and they want the military indeed to try to broker a deal of some sort between the protesters and the government.
As we talk to you, stay on the line, because I'm going to take a different shot here on the right of the screen, just to illustrate the type of people, the variety of people in the square. The man you see there, I'm told, is Mahmoud Al-Qadiri, an Egyptian judge. And he's talking on the phone to our sister station, Al Jazeera Arabic, saying that he has no intention whatsoever of abandoning his position, alongside, as our correspondents have been saying, so many people that have never met before but have a united purpose, a purpose to which they adhered when they told the head of Central Command, the Army Central Command, no, we're not going. We're not going to take down the barricades. And that was when the head of Central Command himself walked into the square, and not so much in military terms, but actually beat a retreat, a tactical retreat by the head of Central Command. I'm going to talk now to another of the protesters, Ahmed Saif al-Islam, used to be director of the Hisham Mubarak Law Center. And as I understand it, sir, you were one of those arrested earlier in the week. What happened to you?
They arrested me with 34 persons from our office in downtown, and they take us to a military building, and then they release us today. So I come to Tahrir Square to participate with the demonstration here in the Tahrir Square to send a message. Regardless your pressure on us, we will continue to support the demand of all Egyptians against the regime of Hosni Mubarak.
The entrance into the Mubarak Law Center was described earlier in the week as a breach of human rights and an attempt to perhaps sit upon politically those who were behind the protest. Is that the sense that you got?
Hisham Mubarak Law Center since 2003 take a decision. We will support and provide a legal aid for any group, demonstrate